So you can be a good businessman like Jerry Jones and make great decisions in every other business and then make terrible decisions with your football team.
Yep.
So Ezekiel Elliott in his last 12 games has 2 touchdowns. In his last 17 games, he averages 70 yards a game.
Yeah.
He is going to be an $18 million cap hit next year and a 16.7 after that, and I think 13 after that.
And by the way, right before the season started, they restructured his deal a bit, which made it slightly harder to move on.
That's right.
In the next few years.
I would argue in baseball, there are lots. Every team's got 1 or 2 bad contracts because the contracts are now extended to 7, 8, 9, 10 years for good players. No baseball contract, even Mookie Betts, by year 7, it's not a good deal for the Dodgers. In basketball, Otto Porter, because you have this minimum that you have to spend, Otto Porter can get a high-end contract. Good player, not special, but paid like a special player. In football, almost never get trapped. You almost never get trapped. You could cut Tom Brady today. He's so small of a cap hit. I mean, you could cut almost every quarterback not named Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers today. So not only is the Zeke contract awful, in a league with few awful contracts, the second worst contract could be Jalen Smith, a wonderful guy who is now a backup.
Who's a backup? He's playing 20% of the snaps.
They tried to move him. They tried to move him. They could not move him.
And they paid these guys early when they didn't have to. The Zeke thing, though, Colin, if I can jump in, is interesting because I want to ask you about something. Have you ever? You're not a big car guy, right? Are you?
Not at all.
Right, that's not your thing. But so the car guys would be a better example on this. But I'm sure. So I'll use cars as an example. But I'm sure you can find something in your life. You've got, say, a very serviceable, good car. But you have a lot of money and you're like, you know what? I'm buying the top of the line fancy car.
Sure.
And you buy it and you drive it. And after a couple weeks, you're like, I actually like everything about my other car more. I still have it. You feel an obligation internally to drive the more expensive one because you spent the money. It's illogical. It goes against the sunk cost fallacy, but there is something in you, even if you enjoy driving the other car more, that pushes you to drive the more expensive one because you spent the money. Here's why I say that. The Zeke contract's obviously a bad contract, but that is a sunk cost at this point. That's done.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to give Tony Pollard running back 1 carries because they spent all this money on Zeke. Even they're both there. The cap hit's the same this year, whether Zeke gets 30 carries or 0 carries. Logically, what a robot would do is what gives us the best chance to win. What a human being will do is feel pressure to give the ball to the expensive guy because you spent the money.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem for Dallas. I think it's a real problem.
Well, and also, it's why I give great credit to Steve Keim, the Arizona general manager. GMs will stick with a quarterback like Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. Ryan Pace did because he drafted him. Steve Keim acknowledged, I whiffed on that one. And in 1 year, fired the coach and went and essentially fired the quarterback. That doesn't happen ever in the National Football League.
Well,
ever.
And another team that won a Super Bowl because of it, and they didn't even wait a year, was your Seahawks. I shouldn't say your Seahawks, but the Seahawks famously. It was very difficult to spend that money on Matt Flynn and then say you're not playing. But it is logical. The money is spent. That is gone. Now you just got to play who's better. This is what I've never understood. And I'm not breaking psychological ground here, but people, and I'm sure you've known people like this, that buy theater tickets a month in advance.
Yeah.
And the day of, dread going, don't want to go, are miserable about going, and go anyway. And the answer is, well, I paid for him. Well, you paid, that's gone. You already paid for him. Now you should do what makes you happy. The money doesn't come back to you. And sports teams have a big problem with this. They have a huge problem with recognizing that money is spent. That is a separate thing. Now we must do what is best for us moving forward. And I think for the Cowboys, it's going to be a problem.